What up, homie G's? It's MGD here, just reminding you to subscribe to the channel and comment any questions, or if you would like to be on the podcast, feel free to also send a DM. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Oh, welcome everyone. This is MGD here with MGW. So he wanted to do a little play on it to have the same initials as me, but honestly, I like it. I think it works great, so I appreciate it. So MGW is an AI security engineer, and he popped up on my LinkedIn, was just scrolling, like kind of just looking for myself personally, and then like kind of looking for the podcast, right? And I thought his job was so interesting just in general. And then also in his bio for the job, he said AI will write this for me soon. And I thought that was so genius. So reached out to him. He's here on the podcast today. And it's from upstate New York. And yeah, MGW, if you want to give after that like a brief summary of high school and college and just where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, MGD, thank you so much for having me on the pod. It's good to be here. So a little backstory here, and I know MGD likes to be secretive, but MGD and I did go to high school together, so
Yes,
I've
sir.
I've known him for a long time. We had, I think, Latin class together in eighth grade.
Hmm.
Does that sound right? And
Yeah,
then
no, you're
we
right.
we both played the euphonium in band, which is crazy. I like forgot about that until today as I was preparing. I was like, what classes do we have together? So yeah, we did
Mhm.
some band together. I did here. So yeah, I graduated from high school in the Albany, New York area. Um, Decided I want to go to college for math. I like math. I mean, I'll be honest, I was never the greatest at math, but I enjoyed it, and I know a lot of people don't. And I was like, hey, I'll kind of make this my niche. And kind of go that way. So I went to St. John Fisher University out in Rochester, New York. Got a double major there in math and economics. Math was really the primary focus, but econ was just kind of fun. So I did some of that. And did some computer science along the way. Did some research in image processing through Clarkson University during my time as a student, which was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And then
Very cool.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then cut to, I guess, kind of like fall of my senior year, started applying for jobs. Wound up getting a job as a data engineer in a consulting practice at one of the big four. And did that for about 3.5 years. And then another one of the big four approached me this past fall of 2025 and said, hey, Louisa, we see you're doing a lot of cool stuff. We're growing our practice in the AI and the agentic AI engineering space. Are you interested? And I was like, yeah, this sounds like a really cool opportunity. So jumped on that, and then yeah. So I graduated, like I said, graduated in 2022. I lived in Rochester, New York for about 3 years after graduation, on top of the 4 years as a student. And then I relocated to Manhattan in September, and I've been living in the Manhattan's Upper West Side for about 6 months now. So
Okay.
it's been a
Nice.
lot of fun.
Nice. And did you relocate for work or was it like kind of
No, completely my own volition. I wanted to go to Yankee games, so
yeah.
I I have a 20-minute subway ride to Yankee Stadium now, and
Okay.
that's what I do.
Okay. Seen any good games so far?
Dude, I was at Wild Card Game 3 this past fall when Cam Schlittler threw 8 innings. Amazing atmosphere. The place went nuts when he came out for that last
That's
inning.
awesome. That's
I've never heard anyone get booed as loudly as Alex Bregman. I mean, rightfully so. People hate him.
yeah.
And I will say I think he's a good player, but obviously, there's kind of a stain on his legacy after 2017 and stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, amazing game, amazing atmosphere. So it was a lot of fun.
Gotcha. Awesome. And also, so like when you were mentioning that, like, okay, I wanted to get in math and it wasn't something you were like, you said particularly amazing at. Like, so what like honestly switched for you to all of a sudden be like, okay, I like math. I'm gonna start to do this in college. Like, what was there defining moment or something where you like, that's what I want to do?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. So there was a few different things. I got put into like an accelerated math class in middle school, so I was always taking math a year ahead of what my age was. Um, like I said, things didn't come natural to me. The way I say it is, I'm honestly a lot of times I'm just too stubborn to quit. Like if I'm like, all right, I'm gonna figure this out, like I'll just put my head down and grind. And there's a lot of times where I feel like, things don't come naturally. I see other people around me getting faster, but I'm like, hey, I want to get this. So, it's kind of interesting just because my dad's an engineer, math made sense. I originally thought I was gonna be a math teacher and I wanted to like coach sports and then um be a math teacher. And then I
Okay.
had a really great mentor come to me. He's like, hey, like, don't go to college for math education, just go for math. And that way, like, if you want to be a teacher, you're going to need to get a master's degree either way in education. And if you don't
Yeah.
want to be a teacher, you're not boxed into it because you have a broad math degree. And that
Yeah.
was phenomenal advice because that's exactly what happened. I was like, I just don't have the patience for being in a classroom.
Yeah.
So I kind of went a different way.
Okay. Yeah, and honestly, I feel like that getting that math aspect is just it's kind of like a general knowledge. It's like, okay, I'm gonna learn this, and then can down the road kind of sector it out. And like in my role, so I'm in like finance in like program finance, so it's more of like a project managing a project.
Mm,
But in the financial space, I feel like there's a lot of times, and like you were saying, like, oh, it might take some time to get where I want to go. But I like enjoy the math part. Like I think for me, like, we look at a lot of data from day to day. And I think sometimes like I overcomplicate it and it like, takes
mm,
some time. But I've realized it's like, hey, at the end of the day, like, it is just data. It's just the way you interpret it. So it's like
yeah,
you can maneuver it anyway, but you're not like creating something out of nothing. Like you're getting the data from somewhere. So I think that's like
yeah,
for you, like you might just need to take time like to grasp it, like grasp the
yeah,
math side of it, and then be like, okay, like at the end of the day, it's just math. We're trying to get to solve an equation. Like it might take time
yeah,
to get there, but we're eventually gonna find it.
yeah.
I
It's
like that.
hard. It's was so just kind of go off that like
Yeah, you're good.
with AI these days. I realize I sound like every other AI tech bro who's talking about AI right now. And I definitely suffer from AI fatigue. So if you're like rolling your eyes already, oh, another AI guy, like trust me, I get it. I kind of hate it too. Um, I right now I'm working on things where I'm like, I really want to dig into this and actually take the time to understand it, but there's so much pressure on us. Just crank out stuff faster, have AI do it. But I don't want to do that and not fully understand what I'm, delivering, my deliverables, my outputs, and then have it fail down the road because my name's on that. My
Right.
company's name's on it, my partner's name's
Yeah.
on it, right? And if
Yeah.
I like, sure, I got it done fast with AI, but if I don't understand it, that's on me if it fails. So I kind of struggle with that every day of like balancing that. Well, we need this done as fast as possible, and everybody's telling me to get it done as fast as possible with AI, while also, all right, make sure you take the time to say you understand this and actually like know what's going on. So it's
Yeah.
something I literally just today and probably every day I'm using AI a ton, but then kind of having that internal struggle of like, is this the time I should slow down and make sure I understand it? So that's real.
Yeah. No, I think that's also just it's such a new space that there's so much to left to be discovered. And I want to come back to AI in a sec, but I want to go back actually to one of your previous points. So you said like a consulting company reached out to you. And I know you mentioned before you or when we talked like off the show that you listened to Jordan's interview and it's very similar to him, but I know yours is like you got reached out to by a consultant. Like, how was
Yeah.
that process? Like, how did it feel? Was it like, I mean, different? I mean, you didn't apply to the job you were reached out to. So like, how was that process?
Yeah, well, I mean, sorry, that was an interview process, but so for
Oh, okay,
both,
gotcha.
so for getting my first job at the first Big Four, they had come, they were specifically looking to bring people into the Rochester office, so they had come to my school, and it was kind of nice because I wasn't like for a lot of these firms, you're competing at the national level,
Hmm.
but in my case, I was just competing against people in Rochester, so it suddenly made it a lot smaller pool,
True.
and that was a really cool and unique experience. I had a great time there. Really love the people I was working with. Wasn't really I'd applied to some jobs here and there because I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, but I wasn't really unhappy. I was enjoying,
Yeah,
I had great mentors.
awesome.
The kind of big advice I would give to everybody in your 20s is keep your LinkedIn up to date. I'm not saying you need to be posting all the time and like be a LinkedIn influencer, but basically the your profile section that's like basically a more extended resume every few months you should be constantly updating that. And that's kind of how the second firm reached out to me. They had seen my LinkedIn. I talked about a lot of the stuff I was doing in my first firm.
I like that.
Had some of that in my about section in my roles, and they just some recruiter I guess was looking for people, and I came up with things. So I think a lot of times I say you got to cast a wide net, and basically being able to make your profile be a really good representation of who you are on LinkedIn, what your skills are, hitting a lot of those keywords and buzzwords, but then showing the fact that like, hey, I know what I'm talking about. I'm able to communicate that,
Yeah.
and I can present myself professionally. I think it was really, again, they just I came up in whatever search they were doing, and then they DM'd me on LinkedIn. Had an interview process. I think it was about 3 interviews. It was maybe from like the first contact to the final offer was maybe a month and a half, about 6 weeks. And then yeah, everything
Gotcha.
came together.
Cool. I
Yeah.
think it'd be helpful. I think the last point I'll talk about your job, and then I know we wanted to go into some other points. So for AI, where do you see for your job and kind of just the future in AI? Where do you see it going? Where do you think like
Dude,
the biggest possibility is?
I have so many thoughts on this. And every
Tough question.
No, I remember I had brunch with someone in like February of 2025, and this was somebody in Silicon Valley, which is a bit of a sound bubble where everybody's kind of like hyping themselves up, and he's like, "Yeah, man, like it's coming for your job. No one's gonna have to work. Everybody's universal basic income. Don't have your
Heard that
identity
point.
tied to work, and like
Yeah.
all these things." And I kind of walked away, and I honestly was depressed for like a week. Like it gave me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Um. And then I was like, nah, AI is not taking my job. Honest to God, I don't like, I think you're always gonna need a human in the loop. I think that's always real. It's the cliche things of like, it's gonna redefine the way we work. We're constantly redoing processes. I think it's a little ridiculous to say like, no one, like we're gonna need people, right? It's ridiculous to say like
Yeah.
no one's gonna have a job, but definitely like there's gonna be some roles are gonna be changed, roles are gonna be no longer needed.
Right.
Do you know, this is an interesting fun fact. Do you know what role was the most impacted by the invention of the personal computer? Secretaries.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Right? And think
that
about it,
makes
right?
sense.
Like when I talked to like my grandfather, everybody used to have an assistant, all down at like to the manager level, whereas now it's at my company, like you have to be at the higher like partner levels to get an assistant. It's because, a lot of us have email, we have teams, we're able to handle our own communication and it's a lot more efficient. Whereas like before the computer, you kind of needed a secretary to like do
Yeah.
all the running around that you had to do when you didn't have email. So
Mm,
roles are going to be
makes
changed.
sense.
It's inevitable. But I think just the first thing is having a bunch of domain knowledge because I feel like I'm always, like I just said about like, do I actually need to learn this a lot or not? A lot of times I'm getting in, checking the AI, basically interrogating it, make sure it actually can prove what it's talking about. Um, so I think it's still important to have the domain knowledge, and it's almost like you kind of got to be a better manager of AI tools, right? Because now instead of delegating tasks out to human, you're delegating tasks out to different LLMs and agents.
100%.
um, so the short answer is like it makes me anxious, just like it probably is making everybody else anxious. I think it's
No, it
real.
is.
I think if it's making you anxious now while you're still employed, that's probably a little bit within reason. I mean, I hope you're not losing sleep, but it's probably a little bit healthy because that's probably when you go in your job, for me, I'm always like, hey, how can I be leveraging AI for this? Instead
More
of just being like
motivated.
blissfully
Yeah.
ignorant. Yeah,
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
motivated, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That if you have AI fatigue, if you're stressed, if you're anxious, like totally understandable. Me too. And I work in the
Yeah.
space. So
Yeah. Wow. No, honestly, I think that'll help listeners and just honestly help me a little bit. Cause like there is sometimes I'm like, I want like to take more advantage of it, like investing, just like using it in general, like in my job, like emails. Like I'm like, just talking to Chat GBT, like, all right, with like a workout like routine, like, can I be using it to better my life? And then there's sometimes I'm like, well, like do I really need to use this or can I like talk to a friend? Can I
yeah,
just, think of it myself, like of my own creative ideas?
yeah.
So, um,
One thing, this has been a thing I've been working on the last few weeks. I use a tool called Obsidian. This is a very software engineer thing. So in software, we use a file format called Markdown. It's like a very lightweight formatting tool for notes.
yeah,
Obsidian keeps all my notes in Markdown, and I'm able to use like a coding assistant. So I use Claude Code, but OpenAI Codex is the OpenAI alternative. And it's made me start writing a lot better notes into Obsidian
that's awesome.
because, the whole point of garbage in, garbage out to an LLM is real, right? So I know, hey, if I put better notes into this tool, that's now better context and better information that's getting fed into my LLM that's now allowing me to, produce more output. So even just today, I go, hey, I should have a note somewhere in the last 3 weeks. Someone sent me a link like this, and it goes, yep, it's here on March 10th. Here's the link. I'm like, boom, right? So
That's
so
awesome.
I'm it's
Yeah,
been really helpful for me to like, all right, now I need to again better notes, and I see a ton of value from that. So yeah, there's definitely ways directly and indirectly to improve how you work. So
no, I like that. I think that's a great tool. Not even sponsoring the podcast too, so you just dropped it for fun. No, I'm just messing around. But yeah, no,
No, no,
that's
yeah.
that's great. I know we just we'll probably move on to the
Yeah,
next
yeah,
thing that
yeah.
you wanted to bring on, manifestation. If you want to, I know you're a firm believer in that. Do you want to
Oh,
expand more on that?
yeah, yeah. Firm believer in manifestation. So, my dad has a story. He had always what he used to do scuba diving before, before he had
Okay.
kids, when he actually had free time. And he had this picture of Australia, like the Great Barrier Reef, like just pinned on his desk because he's like, I always wanted to go do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And one day his boss walks into his office, is like, "Hey, we need someone to go to Australia." And most of the guys don't want to go because they have families. Like he's like, "I'm telling you now, you're gonna be there for like 4 to 6 weeks." And my dad looked at the picture of the Great Barrier Reef and he was like, "All right, let's go."
Beautiful.
And he was able to work it out where he kind of got, while he was there, he got a weekend off and he was able to go scuba dive for a couple days and do the Great Barrier Reef. And it's a long plane ride. It's like 18 hours, so it's not like you can just hop over there for the weekend.
No.
So for me, I've just kind of always, like, when I was in college, I knew I wanted to work for a big company because I'd watched my father and my aunt, my grandfather do that. To me, that was success. And as part of that, I felt like they got to travel a lot and got to see a lot of the world. Like I said, Australia for my dad, a bunch of other cool places for him on top of that, as well as my aunt and my grandfather. So cut to it's 2023, like January. And I've been begging, like I got him employed at a large company, haven't really gotten the travel. I've been begging people for it, begging people for it. I've also got this picture that I really like of a fishing pier in Pacifica, California.
Yeah.
And it's my wallpaper on my iPad because I want to get out and get to
People gotta
California,
go.
and I
Yeah.
hadn't been. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So same kind of thing. My boss emails me. He's like, "Hey, I'd love it if you could come and speak at this or I'd love you to apply to speak at this conference." And I was like, "Wow, okay." And I threw in the application and then didn't hear anything for a couple months, and then suddenly, yeah, got invited to come and speak at this conference. So you
Oh,
can,
awesome.
and this was at the Moscone Center in San Francisco. I had a blast. I felt like I grew up a ton that week, because I extended on some personal days of vacation and did some traveling on San Francisco. Got to an A's game, got to a Giants game because I'm a huge
Amazing.
baseball fan. One of my bucket list things is to get to every MLB stadium. So like boom, boom,
Cool.
knocked off two of those that
Okay.
week, and then got to go out on the fishing pier in Pacifica. I had a great time. So I think if you have goals or experiences you want to do, like put pictures, put reminders up around your life,
Okay.
and just kind of keep them present. And obviously sometimes you're going to take matters more in your own hands. Like, okay, I need to make this happen. But also, again, if you just kind of put your thoughts into the world and do some work, like the opportunity will come. So,
Amazing.
again, like I said, I wanted to travel for work, and I did a bunch of work to get employed at a company where I knew that was gonna be a real possibility. So
Yeah.
it's been cool.
Well, congrats. I would say that sounds fantastic, especially your dad too. That's like an
Yeah.
amazing, like very cool. And I was like hoping the story wasn't going to be oh, he looked over and then wasn't able to go. It was one of those like, hey, he wished he was able to
No, no,
go.
yeah, he got to go.
But that's
So
that's amazing. And honestly, like I have a very similar reminder. Like didn't honestly view it that way, that I've like kind of manifesting it just as more like, oh, this is a cool way I could track it. But I have a goal to visit all 50 states, and I have a literally like above me right now, like have a 50 states map, and like I color it with a coin, like when I've been to that state. So it's just gonna keep going. And like
dude, that's
recently
awesome.
went to one last month, like a couple new states like Mississippi and Arkansas. So it's like, all right, I got to cross those off, and I was so excited. Like literally when I was there, I was like, I'm so excited to like cross these off when I get home, and like went to like a Grizzlies game, and like saw some a bunch of different like state parks in Arkansas and in Mississippi. So it was a fun time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
yeah. No, I can totally see what you mean with
Yeah.
manifestation. You ever feel sometimes um, with manifestation, I feel, there could be things you are pushing out of the way, right? And you're having to prioritize. How do you, I guess, best prioritize when you're, I guess, manifesting something like that, like a life goal or like a really fun goal that you want to do?
I think you just gotta always be thinking, like, again, what's right now, and then what's just at some point. Again, acknowledging that, like, you never know what could happen in life. Sometimes you have to jump on an opportunity when you can. Um, so like I'd like to get to all three MLB stadiums, like I said. I don't necessarily have plans to hit all of them immediately, but
Yeah.
I, like, right now, the former Oakland A's are playing up in Sacramento. So if I don't get the opportunity to fly there for work within the next year,
Yeah.
like it's, come the end of the next baseball season, or I think it's actually this baseball season, if we get to August and work hasn't gotten me out there, I might just book the tickets myself. So you kind of got
Gotcha.
to balance, understanding like what do I need to do now versus like like Fenway Park is always going to be there, right? So it's not
Right,
like I
right,
need to
right.
get there immediately. So
Yeah. Or like the Mets now that you're closer to New York City
yeah.
as well. Yeah,
Mets, what are you talking about?
yeah.
Yankees. Actually, I do love City Field, but the Yankees are the priority.
Yeah, no, I am a Yankees fan, but I was more of just like, oh, like that's another stadium because I know you've seen the Yankees. So I was like, if you haven't seen them,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's funny. That's funny. Uh, so with all the traveling and everything, kind of comes into paying for it, right? The personal finance side of it. Do you have any strong beliefs in personal finance in general? Like anything saving tips you have, or anything that you're
Yeah.
like really big into?
Yeah, I mean, so I could talk about this all day. This could be a whole other episode. But just kind
Yeah,
of the brief overview. I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey,
yeah,
which I know he's a
I
bit
like him.
controversial. But I think, you can't argue with the fact that like, hey, if you want to have money in savings, you need to spend less than you're bringing in, right? Like some of
Hundred
that's just math. Like, you can
percent.
fight with me on it, but it's just numbers.
No, you're right. You're right.
So for me, I have a lot of spreadsheets where I basically budgeted out how much I'm gonna spend each month. I have things for different buckets. When the paycheck comes in, I mean, I've already for my 401k, my IRA, I've already said like what's the IRS max that I can donate or contribute for those each year. And then I've divided up by the number of paychecks I get in a year, so I'm making sure I'm maxing my IRA and my 401k. I also, again, when the paycheck hits, I have a couple savings accounts that I have scheduled transfers to. One is a travel account, so I'm prioritizing the travel, and then whenever the
Nice.
opportunity comes to travel, money goes to that. Like I said, I'm usually also like if I know I'm traveling for work, I'm trying to tag onto that. So like maybe I book the work flight an extra day or two before or after I have to be there. And
Right.
then I'll just pick up the extra hotel night out of my own pocket, right? That's why that money's there in the savings account.
100%.
I also have a savings account for a house and a car fund. I'm not a car guy, but again, following Dave's principles, he's like, hey, you don't wanna have a car loan. So for me, I'm putting money
Yeah.
constantly into this car savings account. So A, if I have an issue with my current car and I need maintenance, like I don't have to worry about where the money's coming from. It's just coming right out of that account.
Yeah.
And then B, eventually when that car dies, I just want another SUV. Like I don't need a BMW or anything fancy, but again, like I'll be
Right.
able to pay off like a new Tucson or a Honda Pilot or whatever in full.
Cool.
And then same thing with the house, like just constantly stashing money away for the house. Eventually like to get there. Obviously, right now I'm bouncing around in life. I'm not really looking to settle down in New York City long term. But
Okay.
when the time comes, I'd like to know that I have the money in place and can make that move.
Gotcha.
One other thing I'm a big advocate for is donating money. So I mentioned St. John Fisher, my alma mater, loved it there. So I do donate money back to them. And
That's
I
awesome.
think again, I'm very fortunate because of just both the help of my parents and because I worked a lot of hours in my summers during college. I was fortunate enough to, oh, and I was an RA too. Fortunate enough to
Yep.
graduate debt free. But I know not every student has that opportunity. So being able to kind of donate money back to Fisher for the financial aid fund and all the different things that happen there, I think is a really cool experience and kind of gratifying in a way for me to be able to pay it back. As a tribute to all the people who helped me get where I am.
Yeah.
So yeah, big on personal finance. I also one other thing, and like I said, I could talk about this all day, but I have a spreadsheet where I literally track like every single one of my expenses down to the penny. I've got a whole system of like anytime I ever buy anything, I get the receipt, put it in my wallet, get home, put it in the spreadsheet. I have a
Yeah.
bunch of Python scripts I use off that to like get visuals of where my spending's going.
I was wondering if you
Um,
used any coding with. I was like, all right,
oh,
it's like in your
100%,
job.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Again,
awesome.
more software engineering stuff, but I use like Google Spreadsheets, and then there's Google Colab, which allows you to run Python in Google Drive, so I can just import the spreadsheet into Colab, and then just use different data analysis packages there to generate those
Uh,
visuals. So
yeah. I will say a lot of the things you mentioned, I have very similar, like have a budget, I have like a fund going to a
yeah,
house, like also like have the need, save and want like categories in my budget each month.
yeah,
So I when I heard that it because like sometimes I feel what I'm doing, I talk to friends, they're like, dude, you're doing too much. And I was like, honestly, like maybe, but also maybe you're doing
yeah,
too little, right? Like if because I know some people don't have a physical budget like on Google spreadsheets or Google Sheets or on Excel. but it's like have it more like in their head. And I was like, I think you
Yeah.
just need to visually be able to see it, and know exactly how much it is, not like a rough
Yeah.
estimate, you know?
Call me an old man. I realize there's like obviously there's times where I'm like, okay, I should spend the money on this. I think I just kind of said my biggest regret in life so far, which is really not a big deal, is I didn't go to see the Eras tour. So like the
Okay.
opportunity came up to
Big
see
Swift fan.
Eagles, big Swifty over here, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Opportunity came up to see Eagles in Nashville with my dad. Tedeschi Trucks Band, which is another phenomenal band, is opening with them. So my mom and
Cool.
my dad and I are gonna go. And tickets are expensive, but I was like, you know what? Like my earliest memories with my dad are listening to Eagles in his pickup truck. So like I would have spent double what we spent on those tickets. But I kind of going back, like, yeah, I'm uptight with money, but I'd rather worry about money now while I have it versus like finding myself in a situation where I don't have money and I really need it.
Sure.
Again, there's always the balance of maybe time to live a little, but I'd rather get to the end of my life and have a lot more money than I need and be able to give it to my grandkids, donate it to St. John Fisher, donate it to other causes I believe in.
Yeah.
I'd rather again play it safe now and just know that there'll always be good opportunities to spend money. They'll come up. So
100%. Yeah. Prior podcasts, we talked about it a little bit. Is honestly, it comes to balance. Like if you really want to go somewhere, like then you'll go and do it. But if it's like not
yeah,
super important to you, you'll save the money. And like you just want to have the balance with that. You don't want to
yeah,
be
yeah,
like
yeah,
your friends invite you out for drinks, and then you're just like, I can't. Like I'm gonna be below budget like this month if I do that. It's just like, well,
yeah,
like all right, you could go a little bit over, $10 over, $15 over. So, but also I think 100% like the principles you're setting in I think are very important because like there's a lot of percentage of America that live paycheck to paycheck. I think it's
100%,
over
yeah,
50%. I wish I remember the statistic right now, but it's very important. So
yeah,
it's great to see that you're having that emphasis. And I'm gonna need to pay for big expense, and you're gonna look back at like you 5 years ago investing and be like, that was smart of me because of the
yeah,
compounding interest. So yeah,
yeah.
I very want to commend you for that. That is, great job there.
Yeah, like I said, I'm putting a lot of effort into it, but I'm definitely not losing money, losing sleep over money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
life is good. It
That's
could be a
good to
lot
hear.
worse.
Yeah. And then so going into that, like, so, you're spending your money on certain things. What are some hobbies and like things you like to do?
Dude, Yankees games, baseball games, Bills games, always looking to get to some sporting event. I was at the Knicks game a couple weeks ago. Um, I was actually at so MGD and my our high school alma mater, Kevin Herter went to our high school.
Yes.
So I got to see him when he was still with the Bulls. He was in town with the
Oh,
Nets,
awesome.
back in I think it was February. So he got in for like 10 minutes there. It was I mean I don't know him personally, but I'd circled that date
Yeah,
on
it's
my
still
calendar of
cool
hey,
though.
let's go see. Yeah, let's go see Kev. So that was a really cool experience. And then yeah, I traveling, plane tickets, anything to just kind of see San Francisco, like I mentioned, is a wonderful city. Milwaukee's a fun city, Chicago's a fun city, Dallas is a fun city, Houston is a great city. So just kind of again, opportunities to buy plane tickets and hotels. I found for me, again, like I really want to get into a baseball game. I don't really care where I sit. So I've kind of
Okay.
understanding what makes you happy. It's kind of going back to the money thing. There's an article I read. It was like if money doesn't make you happy, you're not spending it right. So it was understanding basically like humans and what motivates us. One of the things was like always having something to look forward to. So instead of going on one big vacation, go on like three smaller ones because when you get done with the one big vacation, you're like, oh, like that's over. What do I do now? Versus like the three smaller ones, you finish the first vacation, now you have the second vacation to look forward to.
Right. Yeah.
Excuse me. So, and it's the same with baseball tickets. I'd like maybe once in a while I'd get something behind home plate. Like it's definitely cool for the experience, but I'd rather go and sit in the outfield three times than like just sitting behind home plate once.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love to travel, love to go to country concerts, big country fan. Got to see Morgan Wallen last summer. That was a lot
Okay.
of fun.
Yeah.
And Need to Breathe, and then I just saw
I've
Eric
seen
Church.
them as well.
Eric, you have, dude. I
Yeah.
love Need to
Yeah.
Breathe.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Eric Church and Ella Langley, we just saw them back in February.
Okay.
So it's
Nice.
yeah, just kind of getting out, doing things. Not really a big drinker and partier.
Okay.
Food something like I'd rather. I love cooking. I'd rather just meal prep for something for
Yeah.
myself. And again, but then like I'd rather again go and splurge on a bunch of country concerts and
Yeah.
a bunch of baseball tickets. So they just kind of understanding again what makes you tick, you know?
Yeah, no, and I mean that's honestly like the last point you just said. What makes you tick? What would you like? Because you might say, "Hey, I don't like going out and drinking, going to clubs and stuff like that." Some
Yeah.
people would be like, "Well, I don't like going to baseball games and save
Yeah,
that money
exactly.
to use for
Exactly.
drinking instead." Like, because I mean, I agree. I don't think I'm not really going out to dining at the nicest places, but
Mm,
like, there's some people that's their big thing. That's what they love to do
yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
traveling and everything. Um, yeah, and I think honestly to your point of like the different MLB stadiums, like I've done that with NBA, like gone to some games,
Yeah.
and I've like I've been like, oh, should I just like splurge and go like center court for this one, or it's like get really close or whatever. But I've realized I was like, well, I'd rather have like a bunch of different experiences at different games, maybe a little bit closer
Mm,
on one, farther back, than rather just like splurge it all on one, so I can like share it
yeah.
with different people. But also it does get to a point if once kind of comes back to that balance is if if you go to 3 games back to back to back, it's like, well, you're kind of like getting a little
Yeah.
fatigued and you're like they're gonna all blend together, so
Yep.
have a
Yep.
balance between that. um
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
And so one of the last questions I wanted to ask you, and what I like to end the show with, is kind of, I'm going to tailor this one a little bit to something you mentioned before that you wanted to talk about. Some things that you struggle with, just in general in life in your 20s, right? Like, and this is a lot of things, a lot of good things in your 20s, a lot of bad things in your 20s, right? A lot of tough struggles. What would be some things that you struggle with? And like, I guess, how do you think you're going to improve, and advice that you would want to give to people, to listeners?
Oh gosh, struggle with. There's just every day I'm like, oh, I wish I'd done more today. Like I'm never getting enough done. I don't use social. I shouldn't say that. I don't use TikTok. I've very actively avoided being on TikTok. I do have Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, but I don't keep those apps on my phone. I only check them on my computer, which is like people make fun of me for looking at Instagram on the web browser. But like when you're out in the world and you're not like, oh, I'm bored and immediately reach for Instagram in your pocket, like it's kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
just, it allows you to be more free. So, but I still like the moment I sit down on my computer, I'll still piss away 45 minutes on Instagram. So I struggle with it just like the next guy.
yeah,
Um, I think also just like finding friends and finding a network and finding people is always a challenge. I had a great network in Rochester and great friends that we have a group chat, we talk constantly. But in New York, there's definitely been some decisions I made where I can see like why I haven't built a network as fast as I would have hoped to here.
yeah,
But also like um I'm still doing fun things here. I love I walk home from work. I sit up on the 24th floor and have a great view of Bryant Park. Like there's still cool things here for sure. Go to Yankee games. I have a cool roommate. So but yeah, just kind of finding a bigger social network is something that in the 6 months I've been in New York, I haven't really been able to do. I realize it's only been 6 months, and like I said, I'm still doing plenty of other stuff. So I'm not like depressed about it or anything, but it's definitely a thought of like, oh, I wish I had more of a network. So
yeah.
yeah, the big things I struggle with is just, social media addiction and trying to keep that at bay
Hey, you and
and finding
millions
people.
of other people, so
Yeah, right. I was
don't
gonna
feel
say
terrible about it.
if that's my worst vice in life, then I guess it could be a lot worse.
Yeah. No, I think there's, definitely different areas you can tackle it. I know I've tried Bumble Friends before. That is something that's like,
Oh,
it's a
really?
whole,
Okay.
yeah. So something to suggest. And then I've used this app called Opal to help with like not being on your
Okay.
social media. So once again, not sponsors, but I'm just giving you free advice.
Opal. I'll have to check it
um,
out. All right, cool.
yeah, no,
Cool.
very but no, it was very cool to like to hear you gave some good advice. And I mean, it's tough. It's you I think I feel that in every day. I'm like, I just gotta hit as much as I can. But I think for
Yeah.
me, I'm trying to do like 3 main things in a day, and I try to hit those. But
Yeah.
it's still tough. Like it's work takes up
Yeah.
30 hours maybe of your week, maybe more.
I practice kind of like every day. What I get done today. I practice inbox zero, which is just the idea of like you're always trying to get your email inbox down to zero. It's a good way to be organized, but then sometimes I do feel like my life is literally just like what to-do list do I need to do next? Because first it's get my work inbox to zero, and then it's get my teams to zero, and then I shut the computer and it's okay, I have a to-do list of things I want to do outside of work. I have personal emails that I want to get that down to zero. I got to get all my text messages down to zero, and it's just every day is I'm doing a lot of things, but it's just every day is just the it never ends, right? You get everything done, and then the next day starts, and your inbox is back to 10. So that's
Yeah,
a struggle.
I
But
understand that. Yeah. Well, MGW, thank you very much for being on the podcast today. This is Life in Your
MGD,
20s with MGD. Thank you for
it's good to
listening.
see you, man. I
Yeah,
listen. When you texted me, I was like, man, it'd be an honor to be on here. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
of course. Bye, homie G's.